Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Tuesday night, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Hey there, Eden. Glad to have you here. Tonight I'm going to do another 2025 early season preview. Hey there, Kevin Ron, and as always, go Tigers. And that, of course, is the real Tigers, which is in Clemson, South Carolina, not all the fraudulent teams that want to be the Tigers. That is the real Tigers. I started this over the weekend. I did my first one. I want to say it was Friday, but it may have been Saturday when I previewed LSU. But I start this every year around this time, and I'll do it all the way up until August when football season starts. And I do one or two a week, so I'll get 35, 40 teams in here. It's always random. LSU was random. Tonight's is random as well. I don't go geographically. I don't go numerically. I don't go alphabetically. I don't go by conference. It's just whatever team comes to mind. Tonight I'm doing Tennessee, and the only reason, of course, is them losing, Nico. Everybody knows that story by now. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. I talked about it, I think it was on Sunday, but it's gotten worse since then. The way it's looking now, Nico's going to be stuck with Tulane, only making about $1 million. So if nothing changes, he goes there. He goes from a Power 4 school to a Group of 5 school, making less money than what he was making Tennessee, all because he let his dad do his talking. So it got me to thinking, what's their record going to be, and would it be any different if Nico was still the quarterback? Because, Nico was the 5-star kid coming out of high school, but most folks don't realize he only had 2,600 passing yards last year with 19 touchdowns. So it's not like he was a 5,000-yard passer. He wasn't. Wasn't even a 3,000-yard passer and didn't even break 20 touchdowns. So it's not like they're losing the guy that was setting the world on fire. He wasn't. Hey there, Frosty. Glad to have you here. As a matter of fact, most of their offense last year came from running back Dylan Sampson. Now, of course, Dylan Sampson is no longer there. Now their top 3 running backs on the roster are Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, and Star Thomas. And Star Thomas is a transfer from Duke, and he will probably, my guess is, to start the season listed as the starting running back because he's the most experienced. But I expect Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis to get a bulk of the carries as well. I don't think it'll be like last year. Last year, every time they ran the ball, it was Dylan Sampson. This year, I think all 3 of those guys will get 10-plus carries a game. And, of course, looks like Jake Merklinger is going to be their quarterback. He was the guy that got the start for the number 1 offense in the spring game on Saturday. And thank you, Frosty. I'm glad you like my hat. I've got about 50 Clemson hats, Frosty, but this is the cleanest one that I have because I just don't like throwing away Clemson hats. So I've got some that I've had for 20 years that there's no way I'm going to wear them because, they're old, beat up, raggedy, falling apart, discolored. But I'm not going to throw them away. So about every 6 months or a year, I'll buy me a new Clemson hat. This is my newest one. I only wear it for the videos, and that way it won't get dirty because I'm just sitting here and I'm not outside. I'm not sweating because I'm not going to wear an ugly hat for a video. Thank you there, Jalen. These type of problems are only going to get worse now that these college kids are getting paid. Jalen, I talked about that in my video on Sunday when I was talking about the whole situation with Nico, because I'm glad that, Tennessee put their foot down and said, we're not paying you. But, I said before these college kids started getting paid, it was a terrible idea. It was a bad idea. It was going to completely turn the game around. Everybody thought I was crazy. These players need to get paid. And now, in a handful of years, look what's happened. I don't know why people didn't see this coming. When you start telling college kids they're going to get paid and you're not giving them a salary cap on how much they can make, and you're not telling them how much they can make, and there's no contract, no matter what you pay them, they're going to ask for more. What do you expect? People that hold down everyday jobs always want more money. So why would a college kid not want more money? But almost every kid now has a pretty much a general manager, and these general managers now at these schools are pretty much in charge of all the money. A lot of schools aren't calling them general managers. They're giving them a nice fancy name, but they're basically general managers, and their task is going to be to handle all this money. So within 3 or 4 years, I believe you're going to start seeing these players have to sign some kind of contract, whether the contract tells them how much they make, or tells them, they can't transfer, or tells them they'll make this much for regular season games, this much for bowl games. I don't know, but with all these teams now hiring general managers, there's going to start being contracts. That's the only way this is going to stop. Hey there, Eddie. Glad to have you here. And Jay Leon, I hate to break the news to you, but I have no idea what Grindr is. So there's no way I can message you back on that because I have no clue what that is. And now I see you're being funny, and it's a good thing because I have no earthly idea what Grindr is. But Tennessee's schedule to me is actually pretty favorable. I don't know, Eddie, if they'll put in a complete total non-transfer rule, but I do think they'll make it to where you can't transfer for at least 2 years, or if you transfer, you got to sit out a year because this nonsense of these kids going to school for a year and transferring to school for a year, that's dumb. Like Clemson basketball just had a player come in, play 1 year, he transferred. He's going to a new school. It's going to be his fifth school in 5 years. That's ridiculous. There's no sense in that. So they're either going to tell you can't transfer for 2 years, or if you transfer, you got to sit out a year. One of those two things. And no, West John, I am not from South Carolina, but thank you for asking. So Tennessee's schedule to me is pretty favorable. Of course, they're in the SEC, so they've got 8 conference games and 4 non-conference games. And Jalen, that does not surprise me at all. It pretty much happens now, at most of these schools now, where you're seeing 1 or 2 players get, upwards of, $1 or $2 million. And I'll be honest with you, if I was an offensive lineman, I would boycott. It's never happened. Don't know that it will. But you see all these quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers get all this money, and the offensive linemen make nothing. If I was a lineman, I'd say, you know what? I want my money because that quarterback ain't going to put up good numbers if I don't block for him. But the offensive linemen, as always, they're called the big uglies because nobody pays them any attention. But Tennessee opens up the season on August 30th. Non-conference game against Syracuse. Then another non-conference game, September the 6th against East Tennessee State. Open up conference play on September 13th against Georgia. And then they play UAB on September 20th. And then they play the Bulldogs of Mississippi State on September 27th. And then they have their first bye week, the first weekend in October. Come back on October the 11th against Arkansas. October the 18th, as always, third Saturday in October, so it's Alabama. October 25th, they play Kentucky. Then they open up the month of November on November the 1st against Oklahoma. Hey there, Antonio. Glad to have you here. Again, I greatly appreciate you stopping back by. I'm just doing a preview of the Tennessee Volunteers 2025 football season. Then they have their second bye week, the second weekend in November. You read Travis Hunter could have got upwards of $10 million if he would have returned one more year. That does not surprise me at all. Now, Travis Hunter is now claiming that he's going to retire, which if you believe that, you believe anything, but he is trying to claim that he's going to retire if he can't play offense and defense in the NFL. That's just his way to get what he wants. He's not going to retire. And Frosty, I am not going to ignore you, so please stick around. Then they come back on the 15th of November for their final non-conference game against New Mexico State. And then on the 22nd of November, they play Florida. And then, of course, they wrap it up on the 29th of November against their arch rival, Vanderbilt. Now, I think it's pretty clear to see that of their 4 non-conference games, Syracuse, although Syracuse is only average, is their toughest non-conference game because outside of them, they've got East, Tennessee State, UAB, and New Mexico State. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Tennessee goes 4-0 in their non-conference games. Now, in conference, and thank you, Eddie, for telling everybody to hit the like button. I appreciate that. Everybody that's on here should hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds and does not cost you a dime and helps the channel out tremendously. The more likes we can get and the more subs we get, it helps out the algorithm of the channel and it makes us more apt to pop up on somebody's YouTube homepage. So it helps the channel out tremendously. In conference, I've got them beating Mississippi State, Arkansas. I think they win that game because last year their worst offensive output by far was against Arkansas, and they play them this year at home. I think they get their revenge and beat them. And Frosty, I'm not going to get angry. It just helps the channel out tremendously. And I don't know why people watch YouTube channels and don't subscribe, because it's not like you get emails about subscribing. You don't get phone calls about subscribing. You don't pay to subscribe. But if you watch a channel, why not support the channel and subscribe? Because it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you click the bell every time that channel posts a video, whether it's live or pre-recorded, it pops up on your phone, tablet, TV, however you watch. So it helps you out as well, because that way if you get busy and you forget about that channel, your phone will go off and you'll remember. Hunter wants in his contract that he plays a certain number of offensive plays every game. That's all Deion's doing. Yes, I know it is, and I wish he wouldn't have let Deion get in his ear, but unfortunately he has, just like Deion's son has, and I hope it doesn't destroy their NFL careers, but they should never, either one of them, have let Deion get in their ears. But I also think they beat Alabama because I've seen Alabama's quarterback room, and unless they plan on getting somebody with the current quarterback room they have, I don't think Bama wins more than 8 games. And if that's the case and that's true, it's amazing how much they have fallen off in 2 years. But with their current quarterback room, there's no way they win more than 8 games. They won 9 last year with Jalen Milroe, and they don't have anybody now that's anywhere close to as good as Jalen Milroe was. Deion Sanders reminds me a lot, Eddie, of, what was his name? Was it LeVar Ball, that had all those sons playing basketball, and every time turned the TV on, all you seen was LeVar Ball, LeVar Ball, LeVar Ball, and one of them is already out of the league, and one of them is about to be out of the league. These daddies and fathers and pretend to be daddies, they don't help their sons or wannabe sons' career at all by getting in their ears. It doesn't help. It's never helped. But for some reason, people still keep doing it, and the kids still keep falling for it. I don't understand it. So I think they beat Alabama. I think they beat Kentucky. And I think they beat Vanderbilt. Hey there, Sonny. Glad to have you here. But I think they lose to Georgia, Oklahoma, and Florida. I think they lose to Georgia because Georgia's just better than they are. So no harm in that. If they had Nico, they'd still lose to Georgia, in my opinion. I think they lose to Oklahoma because Oklahoma has a transfer quarterback that's really, really, really good. And I think Oklahoma's offense is going to be really good. And I just don't see Tennessee slowing them down enough to beat them. And I think Florida beats them just because, for whatever reason, Florida beats Tennessee just about every year. So until Tennessee proves to me they can beat Florida on a consistent basis, most years in that game, I'm still going to pick Florida. Tennessee wins it every now and then, but Florida wins it more often than not. So I'll pick Florida. So I've got Tennessee going 5-3 in the SEC, 9-3 overall, losing 3 conference games to Georgia, which is their first conference game of the season, losing to Oklahoma, and then losing to Florida. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. They say the folks up in Knoxville are calling their quarterback Jake Merkslinger because he likes to throw the ball around. And I think he has potential to be really good. I just don't think he's ready yet. But now the portal does open tomorrow. So maybe they end up getting somebody in the portal. But right now it's looking like Jake Merklinger is going to be their starting quarterback. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What did the broom say to the mop? I'm so tired of people pushing us around. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.